Let's welcome in our morning guest at this moment. T.S. Harihar now joins us. S.V. Prasad is also with us, and Ruchit Jain is joining us this morning. Imtiaz Qureshi will join us in just a bit. S.V., let's start with you. What are your picks?
My picks remain the same. I mean, I still like SBI now that the merger is going through quite fast. Clearly, both the government and the management is clear about. I'm talking about SBI, the merger going through. So clearly, one sees benefits coming through as far as a merger is concerned. Oil companies still look good, and I like HPCL in that pack because relatively, among the three, the valuation-wise, it looks all right. I continue to like Sun Pharma. HDFC Bank, I've been talking, but obviously, whatever has happened, so I guess it's time to pause. As always, Pankaj, I focus more on the large caps, especially, the kind of markets that we are seeing. Markets are obviously running ahead, which always happens. Both runs ahead up and runs ahead down. And if you go even historically, post-budget, generally in India, what we have seen is, the markets have always, by and large, more often than not, next month or so, markets have always done well, barring one or two budgets. So these are the three picks that I would like to suggest.
Ruchit, what are your calls?
Hi, good morning, Pankaj. Pankaj, more of the stocks from the mid-cap country. My first pick is a buy call in Motherson Sumi. Well, the stock now has resumed the uptrend after a consolidation phase of 4 to 5 months. The stock has now been forming high top, high bottom structure, as well as the breakout of the consolidation on the weekly charts indicates that we should see a good up move in the stock in near term. One can go long around current levels around the Friday's closing with stop loss below 338 for target of 376. Second pick is buy call in Petronet. Even this stock on high degree charts is in an uptrend. It has been continuously forming high top, high bottom structure. After a consolidation phase, we saw a good breakout along with the good volumes on Friday's trading session. Now in the stock, if we enter at current levels, the risk reward ratio is around 1:1 because with a stop loss of 388, one can go long for target of 415. But in case if we get minor dips of around 1 to 2% in today's session, then I think it would be prudent that you go long around on dips so that the risk reward ratio becomes favorable on dips. And the last pick would be a buy call in Pidilite Industries. Pidilite Industries, if you observe the daily charts and after an uptrend, the price has consolidated for about 6 to 8 trading sessions. The lower end of the consolidation definitely is a good support for the stock. The volumes during the up moves were good, and during the consolidation, the volumes were comparatively lower, which indicates that there is a positive traction in this stock too. So one can go long around Friday's closing itself, keeping a stop loss below 665, expecting target around 710.
All right, so we've got Ruchit's picks there. Mr. Harihar, what are your top picks?
Well, I continue to focus on the predominantly the mid-cap space. So there are two stocks I am long on and one stock that I am short on. We like Satin Credit Care, which has been one of my favorites for the last probably few weeks, and it's currently quoting at about 460, 470, and we believe that the stock has a potential to reach about 580 over the next 2 to 3 months, largely on the back of a very, very smart pickup in credit due to remonetization. Despite the demonetization pressure last quarter, I think the results are outstanding. So we look at this as fairly de-risked play within the NBFC and the MFI space. The second, of course, is Sharda Cropchem, which we have liked for a long time, considering that it's a very focused generic player in the agrochemicals and fertilizer space. See, globally, this agrochem industry is moving more towards generics, and that is exactly where Sharda Cropchem is based. Here again, we have a target of about 550 in 2 to 3 months. We stay negative on Idea, notwithstanding the speed at which the merger is progressing, and we have a target of 85 on Idea.
All right, 85 target for Idea. We also have Imtiaz with us now. Imtiaz, good morning. What are your top picks?
Very good morning, Anisha. We're expecting a very good positive opening, and maybe the follow-up of buying would see in second half. No doubt what we are looking right now that most of the stocks which has been underperformed right now should be performing, like IT sectors and pharma sectors. But here I'm giving some picks which is a little bit on a sideways momentum. First is my JK Tyre. We had seen a very good consolidations after that breakdown after the consolidations, and right now it's trying to go short up move. JK Tyre looks very much positive. Buy with the stop loss of 114, 113 for the target of 130. Second pick would be continuing with the Sun Pharma. We have seen a very good pullback from the Sun Pharma, and I think the short-term position can be created for the Sun Pharma. Last session, we have seen aggressive buying and highest open interest getting built up. So I think so. This would look very much positive for the Sun Pharma. Buy with the stop loss of 6,450 for the target of 710. And the last pick would be Wipro. We have seen the IT sector showing a very good performance in a couple of trading sessions like Infosys, TCS. It's time for the night for the performance from the Wipro. So it can be a buy with a stop loss of 460 for the target of 505.
Right. A lot of stocks or news flow that came in post-market hours, and one of the big deals that got announced yesterday was Havells and Lloyd Electric. So what has happened is it was an expected deal. It was known that they are in talks, and now they have finally announced. So Havells has bought Lloyd Electric, the consumer business from Lloyd Electric, for about 1,600 odd crores. 1,550 is the exact price, and 50 crores I think is the debt that they're taking. So I think it's the EV of 1,600 crores. To buy the consumer durable business, what does the consumer durable business include? It includes AC, it includes TV business of Lloyd, it includes the washing machine business that Lloyd's has. Within this, or if you look at the consumer basket of Lloyd's, 80% comes in from AC. So one can say that AC or air conditioning is probably the markets that Havells has got into. Havells has bought this for 14.2 times FY16 EV to EBIT, which is not very expensive when you consider Havells valuation, when you consider the market valuation that some of these companies are trading at. Havells has expanded the portfolio market by this particular acquisition quite substantially. Havells' average price, if you would look, was very, very low when you compared it to some of the other players. I'm talking about the average selling price of the products that they have. And with this, they enter the white goods category in the high segment. So ACs are and washing machines are high segment. It's about 35,000 in terms of average selling price. So that is what Havells has got through. These are the numbers from Lloyd consumer business. Revenues is at 1,360 odd crores. EBIT at about 110 crores. This is for FY16, but their growth in the consumer business has been very, very strong. They have spent quite a bit on their brand, and that's why probably the growth was higher. Both the companies are listed, Havells as well as Lloyd Electric. Let's see how they open. 9:30 a.m. In the next 22 minutes, you will hear from the management at Havells. They are having a press briefing. We'll cut across to that live. It's the first after the big acquisition that Havells has made. TCS is also another company that will be in focus. They have a buyback meet today. Now, it was known on Thursday, the management at TCS announced that they have, or told that there is a board meet on 20th of Feb, which is today, and that's going to consider share buyback. TCS generates about 43,000 in terms of the total cash that they have. So that's the amount of cash that they have already generated and kept on the books. It generates about free cash flow of greater than 100%, which is always useful to go ahead and give cash. Now, some scenarios which we had played out on Thursday as well. A 10% buyback would mean about 7,400 crores, which is about 1.5% of their market cap or market price. 25% of net worth if they want to buy, which is about 18,400 crores. That's about 4% of their market cap. Total equity as of FY16 is 73,500 crores. You add back the 9 months cash flow that they have made. So slightly higher than that, closer to 7,500 is what the total equity is right now. They're not going to brief media regarding this, but the announcement is expected to come between 2 to 2:30 p.m. So that's when you should have the details. It would be one of the keenly watched out buyback. It's a big company. A lot of investors have always focused on the cash that they have and how they are going to utilize. Buyback, of course, will be one of them.
Right, and there are a few other stocks that we will keep an eye on because of news surrounding them. Then today in pre-open, we are seeing IDEA seeing a strong up move. What reports are picking up is that Vodafone has brought in Martin Peters to work on the IDEA merger. Martin Peters is former MD, India MD of Vodafone, and there are the report suggests that the IDEA Vodafone merger pack may be finalized within a month's time. So that will definitely be a positive for IDEA, and at this time in pre-open, IDEA is the top gainer on the Nifty with gains about 5%. Then we have aviation major Jet Airways having a press conference today, and the expectation is that they're going to announce a strategic announcement. Reports suggest that they may announce a code-sharing deal with an international carrier, and this of course helps them with their international operations. We have Mangalam Drugs. 2 units Unit 2 was audited by WHO, and they were issued procedural observations, and Mangalam Drugs will respond to the observations once they receive the audit report. We have Dilip Buildcon that has got a letter LOA from NHAI for worth about 911 crore rupees. This is letter of award for a project. Then we have Karur Vysya Bank. Reliance Small Cap Fund has bought about 44 lakh shares at about 91.5 rupees a share, and Reliance Growth Fund has bought 69 lakh shares, about 91.5 rupees a share. We've got Eveready. Its board is meeting today to consider reorganization of the packet tea operations. So Eveready will also be a stock to watch out for.
Right. If you look at HUL, that will also be in focus. So if I look at what happened on Friday is that Kraft Heinz, which is an international company, gave an offer for Unilever or confirmed that they are into talks with it. So Kraft was up around 10%. These are global prices, and Unilever in US and some of the other exchanges where it is listed was up around 14%. However, what has come in this morning is that Kraft Heinz has said that they have dropped the plan to buy Unilever. Unilever on Friday itself said that they did not see any particular merit from shareholders for this merger. Unilever had rejected the offer already, and the deal would have been one of the biggest if it would have actually gone through. Why it was important for HUL is because the deal could have seen a change in control for HUL, and the deal could have triggered an open offer of about 26%. Unilever holds about 67% stake in HUL, and say if they had to give that mandatory 26% offer, it could have paved the way for delisting as well. So that is also something which the street actually was looking out for. This is the pre-open price for HUL. It's up around 1 to 1.5%. As far as HUL and the view is concerned, let's Mr. Harihar, if you could just tell us about your view on HUL. You think delisting is something which can happen in the near future?
No, it's perfectly possible because historically we've seen a lot of Indian companies, including the likes of Novartis, Cadbury, etc., which have gone ahead and delisted in the past. So I don't think it's something that is entirely inconceivable. But I'm not sure whether a $143 billion deal, which is what I suppose the deal was supposed to be, could actually go through so easily. And while they have rejected the deal, I think the deal would still probably be in the open, because let's say if the UK pound probably depreciates a little more against the US dollar, then I think $143 billion would probably be an attractive price. So I won't close myself to the deal. And I think eventually probably a consolidation has to happen in the food industry, and this could be the way ahead. So I would believe that it's entirely possible it could happen in the next 1-2 years, and HUL could actually get delisted from the Indian markets.
Right. What will be your view on Havells and the Lloyd Electric deal?
See, I think this deal needs to be viewed in a slightly larger context, because we're having a GST coming in July, and one of the big impact that GST is going to have is that the gap between the organized and the unorganized segment is going to narrow substantially. And one of the segments that is impacted largely by this unorganized segment is that electrical goods / ACs, the entire gamut of goods where Lloyd's Electric and Havells are present. Now, when that happens, I think the companies that will benefit largely will be the companies that are present in almost all the segments in leadership position. I think that's what Havells is targeting, and I think it's a move perfectly in the right direction.
Right. SV, what will be your view for Havells going into this white goods category?
See, the management has clearly demonstrated the capability to acquire and really up their market position. If you look across product categories, they are in the top 2, top 3 in each of the categories, apart from what TS just mentioned. So there's obviously the management has this capability to not only digest the acquisition, but also keep growth going. So all in all, I think it's a good sort of measured, smart move. Yes, there will be some near-term implications, because in a bull market like this, you tend to, at least the market views it, perhaps you're paying a little higher. Are you sort of diversifying too much? These are some of the concerns the market has. But I think in the medium term, not even long term, I think this is definitely a good acquisition to look at.
Right, here are the first trades. Hindalco is up about 0.3%, ITC is down 0.7%, SBI flat about 25 paisa here and there, and HDFC Bank, it was one of the top gainers on Friday. It was the biggest volumes. It's now about 14 odd rupees down. Idea is right away up about 5 odd %. That's about 111 for Idea. Remember, reports are suggesting that the deal may be announced soon. Around 24th, 25th of this month is when the deal is expected to be announced. Already about 1.5 million shares traded. It's up around 5%. HUL is up 1.5%. Again, the delisting buzz, but what has happened overnight is probably something which suggests that, maybe the street is factoring in that, there could be, this deal goes through, it doesn't go through, but still it's up around 1.4, 1.5 odd percent. Aurobindo Pharma is up 0.25. Abuja Cement numbers today. That's Havells for you, which is down about 1.6%. Some of the brokerages have said that, there could be an impact on the near-term ratios. However, if the execution, which even SP was just now mentioning about, if it goes through, most of the brokerages continue to be positive. That's about 8 rupees on the lower side. Jet Airways on your screen is up around 1.5%, 372 for Jet Airways. That's about 61,000 shares traded. So about 63,000 shares traded. Mangalam Drugs, there's a positive news flow regarding their plant, 4% on the higher side, 157 as far as Mangalam Drugs is concerned. Dilip Bilkon, I think, has got an order worth around 900 crores, so that's up around 2.5 odd percent. That's a stock which is doing well at this point of time. Karur Vaishya on your screen, absolutely flat. Okay, that's Karnataka Bank. We'll just look at Karur Vaishya. So Karur Vaishya is also flat. It's up around 0.2, 0.3 odd percent. Let's pull up Lloyd Electrics, and Lloyd Electric is a stock with which Havells has done the deal. That's also down about 8 odd percent right now. That's about 299 as far as Lloyd Electric is concerned. It's about 9% down right now, and one would get a sense that the best of the business that they have actually sold, and that's why it's down around 9 to 10 odd percent. Let's just pull up Lloyd Electrics. Okay, I think it's only listed on BSE, so we'll just pull that up in just a bit. That's a company which is in focus right now. Havells is also down about 2%. Sun TV is down 3%. No particular news flow on Sun TV, but that's also down 3%. Cadila Healthcare is down about 1.4, and PNB Guilds. These are some of the names that have been going up, whether you look at Cadila, whether you look at Sun TV, whether you look at PNB Guilds. All these names have been one of the big performing names, and that's why they are on the lower side. Anisha, any other names that you can pick up in terms of volume activity?
Yes, we have seen a good move coming in. Tata Teleservices Maharashtra, that's up 7.5% on higher than average volumes. JP Power Ventures is up nearly 7% as well. JP Associates is up 3%. Amtech Auto is up 3%. Reliance Communication is up 3%. So the entire telecom space seems to be buzzing on that up move coming in on Idea Cellular. We got Jet Airways up 2.5%. We've got some of the education names like Aptech up 2%, and Unitech is also seeing some decent up move. You mentioned Sun, that is lower. Tata Motors are seeing a little bit of profit taking, but that's what's happening in the markets today. We're not seeing very big moves coming through. SP, what would you do with stocks like the other those stocks that compete in this white goods space, as maybe a Whirlpool or a Voltas? Mr. Harihar said that there will be a shift to organized players in this because of the GST coming through. What happens to the competition? Would it be a good time to look at any of these two?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, one has to look at valuation. Then that's why I think that the Havells management has been very smart, because Lloyd's compared to, let's say, Voltas in terms of margins, they have kept that in mind, because Lloyd's margins right now are lower, and they have built that into the price offering. So that's been a extremely smart move. The advantage, brands like a Whirlpool or Voltas has is they have the brand salience, they have the distribution. So it's an interesting space to be in. And Manisha, I've always believed in investing in the top 2, maximum 3 brands in any sector, subject to valuation, because they are the people who get the purchasing, the price power, which means they are the ones who can look at a good operating margin. So yes, there are quite a lot of interesting players in the white goods space. One will have to wait. Also, the one word of caution is, let's wait for where do the GST rates fit in for whom. I think that's because there are 4 rates. There's a lot of discussion on who will fit into what rate, etc. So I would much rather wait. Okay, in the process you may end up paying slightly higher, and I frankly think there would be some element of disruption once GST comes. People were obviously upset with demonetization. Fortunately, the disruption was not as bad. Of course, in certain sectors it was. But in terms of GST, I think the disruption for a few months, and that would be a good opportunity to look at a lot of these stocks. I think then some of these stocks would get beaten at that time, hopefully, for a long-term investor, and that's a good time to really look at some of these names.
All right, Ruchit, what would you do with a stock like IndusInd Bank? Now, all the bank names are really buzzing on Friday. post the move that we saw in HDFC Bank. What's in store for IndusInd Bank? It also, made a new high, but there was selling pressure at the high levels.
Yeah, Anisha, but if we see the positional charts and what the stock has done from last 2.5 months, amongst the private sector banks itself, this is one of the bank which has been a good outperformer, taking IndusInd Bank as well as Yes Bank. These two stocks have managed to outperform the rest of the private sector banks such as Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, and some other stocks. The trend definitely continues to remain up. If the momentum readings are overbought, then I think the next corrective move, in case it comes in the stock, then it would be a time-wise correction where the prices would remain sideways for a particular period of time. So there are no signs of reversal on the charts as of now in the stock. Yes, the momentum readings are quite overbought, and hence we may expect some sort of consolidation now coming in the stock. So in case if anyone is holding the stock and has some a time frame of more than 2 months or 3 months, I think they should continue to hold this name. After a consolidation phase, again the uptrend would be resumed. So unless we get any reversal signs, the outlook should be positive. But from a broader or a time frame of more than 2 to 3 months.
All right. Imtiaz, have you had a look at the chart of Dewan Housing Finance on Friday? It saw a very large candle on strong volumes. Some of the housing finance stocks have moved up, but they're still away from their 52-week highs, but have seen a very good recovery post the selling we saw in December. What would you do with stocks like Dewan Housing Finance or even LIC Housing Finance?
I would definitely give a recommendation buy on decline strategy for the NBFC stocks, what we had seen. No doubt there are the few investor stocks which has not performed very much well, but if I see this entire pack, India Bull Housing Finance, DHFL, LIC Housing Finance, so all this goes in a patterns, goes in a one stroke buying happening. And if any of the stocks moves up, it gets support to the another stocks, technically proven stocks. So I think the buy on decline strategy should be adopted for the bank NBFC stocks, and I think that there is a potential for DHFL to go much more higher. And I think so. Just a rally started back just recently, and I think so. There's still more room, 5 to 7% of rally for the DHFL.
Right. As far as Idea is concerned, Imtiaz, what will be your call as far as Idea is concerned? It was up 5%, it's now up 3%. Any view on that name?
Yes, Pankaj, the stocks remains to be on a positive radar. Still, the basic parameters are showing, technical parameters are showing for the Idea to be a positive. But what is happening, that entire rally is getting fizzled out, or you can say getting paused at 118, 119. I believe that once 119 get removed from the chart, the next level to be watched out would be 130, 135 range. So until this 118, 119 doesn't break on a closing basis, I think so there could be a profit booking at a higher level. But yes, same strategy as I said for the NBFC stocks. Idea go in the same category, buy on decline strategy. Until the stocks remains above 106, it would be a very good level to accumulate.
Right. TS, what do you make of the deal? The deal is expected to be announced in the end of Feb. Any view on this name?
You're talking about the Vodafone Idea deal?
Yeah.
See, Pankaj, I think the way the telecom industry seems to be evolving, we will end up with 4 players. There will be a Reliance Jio, there will be a Bharti, there will be an Idea plus Vodafone, and the fourth corner would be a grouping or a syndicate of Arcom plus Tata Tele plus MTS, I think, which is what is being spoken about now. I think from an industry point of view, it is good because it leads to consolidation. More amount of spectrum available to all the players. Again, as I keep saying, I'm not sure how great an investment telecom is, considering their margins are thinning, competition is tightening. But I think at least in the short term, this consolidation should be positive. Again, and as I already said, I continue to be negative on Idea. I don't think there is too much value left on the table at these prices. But sentimentally, yes, it's going to be positive for the telecom stocks.
Right. SV, what would you look at in terms of Idea? Do you think industry dynamics can change?
See, as I've always maintained, Pankaj, the general thumb rule is that you sell whenever this kind of an acquisition comes in, because typically what happens is valuations tend to be stretched, and especially in a competitive place where Jio is come and shaken up the entire market. What's also going to happen is that both Vodafone and Idea For instance, even in terms of jobs, right from top to bottom, people are going to be concerned because there's going to be duplication. Some people may lose jobs, some people may lose positions. What then happens is, as somebody I think from Bharti Airtel, some senior person rightly observed, what happens is that somebody like a Bharti and Jio, then what happens is they're able to attack the market with renewed vigor, because both these companies, unless they really push through the merger quickly, this is always the kind of flip side to any merger deal. I mean, I've been through this on from all sides. Being acquiring a company, advising on acquisition. So this is one thing, and I would agree with TS. And frankly, this is getting more of a commoditization kind of space, which is what globally has also happened. So in that kind of scenario, which I've been telling in the past as well, I think maybe do an STP of systematic selling of one's holding an idea if one wants to say that, look, the price may go up and up because of the positivity in the market. But I would also tend to use this opportunity to sell and make a good profit.
Is that also because industry dynamics are not favorable in terms of margins, in terms of ratios, the capex that some of these companies have announced? Is that also one reason why you believe that consolidation may still lead to higher cost?
No, certainly. I mean, there is no question about it. See, consolidation reduces the number of players to 4. But so long as you have somebody like Jio, and when oil prices go up, their core business, i.e. refining, is doing well for Reliance, they can tend to be a long-term player. They have not said that after March they are going to revisit their pricing. So it's all good for you and me as consumer. Therefore, given the dynamics of the business, which is what I said, ultimately, valuations have to reflect the underlying earnings and long-term earnings potential. So given that, definitely, I think that's what you said is absolutely right.
Right. Ruchit, how would you look at REC, PFC? Off late, these stocks have done well. Today, again, they are looking on the positive side.
Yes, Pankaj, the overall trend for the stocks continues to remain positive. Even if we compare the volumes with the price movement, then in the recent past, whenever the prices have moved higher, the volumes had stayed higher, and whenever the prices have corrected or have stayed sideways, the volumes were lower. Now again, after a consolidation phase in today's session, the prices are showing some signs of strength, and in case the REC is able to take out this recent resistance high of 148, 148.50, then I think we should see the stock, another leg of up move in the stock. So one should definitely trade with positive bias in both these names, REC as well as PFC.
All right. We were discussing Idea and the telecom space. Ruchit, can you give us your levels for Bharti Airtel? I think Bharti Airtel is trading now at a 52-week high. It's seen a good up move. Where do you see the stock headed?
Tanuja, recently, along with the other telecom stocks, this stock too has moved higher. And if we see the comparative performance within the telecom space, Tata Communication definitely, is in an uptrend, and that stock has outperformed. But after Tata Communication, during the recent up move, Bharti Airtel has shown a good traction. And with volumes also supporting the recent price move, I think this up move should continue further. 382 would be the level to watch. The very near-term resistance would be there in the stock, which was the April 2016 high. And after the month of April, we have not seen the prices. We have not seen this stock going above those levels. So in case the stock managed to cross this 380 to 383, then I think this uptrend would definitely would continue. As of now, the best strategy would be to keep a trailing stop loss of around 360 levels in the stock and continue to hold with the long portions. The resistance to watch out would be 382 to 383.
All right. Imtiaz, TCS is in a good move. What would you do with TCS?
Actually, there was a breakout in the TCS at the level of 2330, and seems the structure is getting carry forward right now. You can say right now there is a fresh breakout about 2390, and until unless the stock remain above that level, I think so the positive base remain continue, and would see some of the stocks going higher to 2500. So everything will be very much positive for the TCS. Maybe the market is getting consolidated, so that's the reason the stock is not showing such a aggressive buying. But maybe today after the news comes out for the buyback price, so most of the things will be very much clear. I remain positive with a stop loss of 2367 for the target of 2500 plus.
All right. Mr. Prasad, have you had a look at Tata Power? Now, on the charts here, other power makers like CESC have really done well. And for Tata Power, we are again seeing it around 85 levels where it's previously corrected. Do you think the fundamentals for this power company have improved? Because they did have a little bit of a setback in Aptel when it comes to the compensatory tariff. What would you do with Tata Power? They're looking at the earnings, looking at the fundamentals. How would you look at this stock for investment?
No, certainly, I think this is a stock that's worth looking at, especially given that the sector, there seems to be renewed interest in the sector. But I'll still, frankly, wait for one more quarter results. I would much rather wait for the fourth quarter results. Okay, I may end up paying a little higher, but I would much rather wait for that. Also see what's the input that the new chairman and his team are going to bring to this. I think he's going to focus on more of these sort of names. So I would much rather wait for one more quarter before taking a call on this stock.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on NDTV Profit and giving us your views on all the stocks that we discussed. As you go, please leave us with your disclosures. Mr. Prasad, any disclosures?
Yeah, State Bank of India, Sun Pharma, HPCL. I continue to hold a very small position in each of these names.
Mr. Harihar, your disclosures?
See, of the stocks I recommended, both Satin and Sharda are in my portfolio. But the other stocks you can safely assume that we are recommended to our clients at some point of time.
Rujit, your disclosures?
So all the trading recommendations that we have given, I don't personally hold in any of the stocks, but have recommended those to our clients. So our clients may have some trading positions in those.
Imtiaz, your disclosures?
Thank you very much. The stocks which we had discussed today, personally, I'm not holding any of them positions.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us on NDTV Profit this morning.